Greetings and welcome to the live stream, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for our year in review. I'm your host today, Bumpy McSquigums, joined by Cupogoodness and a tiny disaster. Hello, folks. Are you ready to just kind of casually talk and shoot the breeze, as they say?
It's like I'm just like a ball of anxiety. I'm like, no!
Sounds very easy to do, but also incredibly dangerous. I mean, how and why would you want to shoot the breeze?
Oh, like literally, I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I think anytime we go out on a limb on these episodes and say we're just gonna do this, but I trust in my partners here, Tiny Disaster and Bumpy, that the three of us will be able to carry a conversation. And hopefully we'll see some of the regulars in chat as well if Missy and Exiled, etc. are out there. I hope they're doing well today. If not, and they're not in chat, I still hope they're doing well today.
All right. Is my hat game on point today? I think it is.
I was gonna say I can't even see your face, but then you lifted it back up. When you look down, it looks like your first hat is your head.
Yes.
Which is really interesting.
Hi guys.
See? Yeah, he's suddenly a plague doctor.
Yeah, almost.
That's pretty good.
A tip of the hats to you.
And you're making up for the lack of hats that Tiny and I are wearing. So we are covered because I believe you have 3 total.
That's right. I got Santa hat, I got the fedora, of course, and then the printy hat. So we're good.
Well,
I got the hats
Merry Disgaea Day, that's right. Merry Disgaea Day. There we go. Like we'll say it's December 8th.
Merry Disgaea Day. I like it. Should be a thing. All right. So it's coming quickly to a close on 2021. Did you guys do anything super exciting that you're incredibly proud of this year, just personally? Let's start with that, and then see where you're gonna go. We'll get into professionally down the road.
I agree though that 2021 is basically over. When it gets to like December 15th, it is like it's done. But I do have to think about your question for a second as far as what I'm personally happy. Well, you know what? I don't want to get super dark or deep, but it's been a really tough year for us, and I'm personally like really. I just told my wife the other day I'm personally happy that we're enduring and just kind of carrying on to the next year, and just sort of thankful for that. Like we've gone through some really tough times this last year, and I could actually call it the worst year of my life, and I'm pretty sure that would be accurate. And I don't mean to be again mopey about it or anything like that. I'm just like look factually at what's happened. It's just been really tough, and we're here. We're doing all right. We're gonna keep moving forward, and yeah, I'm proud about that. I'm proud about that. Keeping my life and myself kind of like in order and moving forward, even though there's been some tough times. And I feel like a lot of people probably, hopefully feel the same way or should feel the same way if they don't, because it's been really a challenge for a lot of us out there. So I hope everybody's feeling the same in terms of kind of forgiving themselves if they've had tough times and moving forward and staying positive.
Kind of an accept and move on type situation. And you can reflect on it. What about you, a tiny disaster?
I'm glad Cup went there first, because my first thought was, well, I survived a year of living in this house with 5 other adults, 2 children, 4 dogs.
That is a lot.
So it's been a mental gymnastics kind of year of like managing to stay afloat but never quite getting ahead. But it's been okay. So I'm a sucker for New Year's. I love all of the like goal setting and the potential of a fresh start, all of that. So I'm looking forward to wrapping up 2021.
I was playing around a little bit, checking out, making a list of goals that I've accomplished or haven't accomplished yet on basically in the last like 8 years or so. So I'll be posting that eventually on Twitter. What were you gonna say, Cup?
Oh no, that I'll just follow it up by saying that's a really nice exercise to do for yourself, is to go over that stuff every year or so. Yeah. And or more or less, whatever, but just go over it every once in a while and say, hey, what are my goals? Are they still what I thought they were? And yeah, it's good to have goals. And also, as the Tiny Disaster was saying, it's been a busy year, very challenging year in certain ways with the sometimes with the foot traffic of our lives and who's in it and stuff. But it also makes me think that, like, with us, with our jobs, there are people that will, it's like we're at home all the time, and like we're like pod people sometimes, and it's like, like nobody cares about me. But if you have a job, like what we do, people will call for you. They'll be like, we need you, we need your help, and they reach out for you. Whether it's it's like I need you for a friendship or I need you for a work thing. It's nice to be needed, and it pulls me back into reality sometimes when I'm like, oh, I'm just sitting here at this at this desk and there's no real social interaction. It's like, no, there's a lot of social interaction going on here, and a lot of times when I'm like, oh, it could get depressing around here, someone's like, Cup, we need you to get this done, or what we need your advice on this, or take a look at this, or what should I do here? And it sort of pulls me back in. I love being someone that can be referred to, not like as a mentor necessarily, but as a peer or whatever, like to bounce things off, to give people feedback on. And so when I, even though at times I have anxiety with the social reach outs and stuff, it's really nice to have them, like to have the work reach outs, to have the Indie Bros chats and Slacks and things like, in the Slack chats and things like that. So, and it's nice to have this. It's really nice to have this. This thing has been the best kind of challenge and a nice thing to do for myself this year in terms of building some consistency. And it's just like, now it's just part of my life that we do this every week or every chance we get on Wednesdays.
That's good. Yeah. Yep. Except for the next few Wednesdays, we won't be getting together. What are you gonna do with yourself? You have so much free time.
I'll probably enjoy it. You know, it's just like you gotta enjoy it in the moment, right? Like enjoy when you don't have obligations. Like the only thing that I don't enjoy about this sometimes is I'll wake up on Monday morning and I'll be like, oh crap, none of us have had a chance to even talk about what we're going to be doing this week. Like, I mean, we know our topic, but we really haven't broken it down very much. This doesn't happen very often, but it's something that's like a stressor of if we don't get this done by, I don't know, by Monday, all of a sudden we have this extra thing on there. And again, it's not like a hugely big deal because we all, you know, I think Kelly always swoops in at the end and is like, it'll be fine. Like, we'll just, here's the
I'm
bullet.
used to like the chats I do with book stuff is always just like, here's the topic, we'll wing it. So I'm so used to that format that I'm always like, I don't know, this is fine.
No, you're, and it's right to think that way. But I do want to make sure that we are not wasting people's time. We're offering something up that is, you know, educated to some degree, and I probably should just have more confidence in the fact that I could probably wing some educational stuff at this point, but I just don't. And so I'm always like, I want to be super researched about it, even if it's not super research really. It's literally huddling before, and we do a huddle before, basically in a text chat. And I go from super anxious to not anxious at all, and I feel great about it and stuff. So that's just basic. Those notes I'm finding out are basically for my mental. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you two are like, it'll come out of the wash. I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm getting used to that. Like, your guys' confidence in the situation.
Well, like with this, like easy breezy, just chatting chat, and you saying you have confidence in us to help carry the conversation. I think we have some pretty steady confidence in you to be able to talk about video games. That has never been something you've struggled with. I don't worry.
Yeah. I guess like the two, if we're getting like personal, the two sides of me is the prepared side, which is happy to talk all the time, and the I have to talk side, which is just something that is like a coping mechanism. As you know, I could literally coping mechanism talk until my voice gave out entirely. So it's always about keeping the balance and making sure that I'm not just in that coping talking all the time. And I'm more like, oh yeah, I totally feel comfortable with our conversation. I know what we're talking about. I'm not just winging it to the point of where I'm like, what am I even going to say next? That kind of thing. So I feel good. I feel good winging it today. But yeah, so 2021, I guess if we just want to jump in and we said some of the personal stuff. Bumpy, did you want to talk about what some of your personal accomplishments in 2021, sure, and then we'll move on to some of our professionals?
Sure. So this year was, well, for most people, it was a pretty rough year. And also for most people, it was an improvement from last year, which is great. I mean, last year was real rough, but this year was actually pretty good for me. As far as the work that I'm doing and able to get, and you know how the channel's doing, everything else, I'm getting closer to where I'm comfortable with how much money I'm making and how much I'm working and everything else, and being able to spend time with my wife, which is great. We celebrated 10-year anniversary this year, which was great, and I finally beat Cook Serve Delicious 3, which is a
major
miracle.
Accomplishments. One of all about the same level
people
across the board, right there. Yeah.
One of 10 people in the world who's maybe beaten that game, so it feels pretty good, even if it wasn't the best.
One of the 10 people that have consistently been married to the same person for 10 years at this point. That's so very good on you. You've accomplished very rare feats indeed.
And I got my first sponsored video this year too.
Which is what I was going to call you out. I was going to call you out in a good way if you didn't mention it and stuff, because I think that's a really big deal. You received, negotiated, and completed your first sponsored content.
Got paid like 2 days ago too.
Congratulations on that, and really cool. I think I think we've talked about it before. I think a lot of us, including a certain Bumpy McSquigums, have uh, perchance to undervalue ourselves as far as what we deserve and out there and stuff. And glad to see you get that, and hope that there's more to come
Oh, yeah.
because you are a very valuable, like commodity in your area. And I think that there are a lot of people that are in the same area are going to be looking towards you in the future. And hopefully, it's just the start of things to come on that front.
That's pretty much my 2021. A lot of work, a lot of effort put in, and some payoff for. I don't want to say for once because there's been payoff many times, but still, it felt good.
Yeah, well, I think you think about a lot of the people who have successes, that indie successes that we see in games. Sometimes the streamers and the YouTube successes, sometimes they are overnight successes and they are truly that. But a lot of times, they're guys like you, they're people like you that have actually toiled for a really long time to get to this point, and then you start to see sort of the dam break a little bit in the good way, I guess, so to speak, where you've just put in all that effort, you put in that long-term effort. I certainly know that I went through that, from where I started to now. I feel so much better about my last 5 years than I did my first 10. So it's just a thing that takes a long time. I think there's a survival thing to it. Like if you there's like an outlasting thing kind of to it, but you obviously don't want to just outlast and not
A hat spell.
be where you're at where you want to be financially. Like it's like, oh cool, I've outlasted everybody else, but I'm still not where I want to be financially. That could be difficult. So you have to play kind of an intelligent game there. But yeah, I'm really happy to have you both. One thing that Indie Brothers has done this year that we have not done really consistently or at all before is just have a really strong social media and stream and like content creation presence. And that's thanks to you two very specifically, and really no one else actually. So I'm really thankful for you two. That what you've added to the team this year. We've kind of discovered over the last couple of years that indies are looking for a really diverse amount of services, and it's not really just about the PR, marketing, or community management or QA. It's just not about one thing, right? There's just a lot of different aspects that are going on with any developers, and the more I think that we can come in and give them, specialist or expert level services or consultations, etc., in different areas, then the more successful Indie Brothers can be in like the long term. So very thankful for you two and what you've done for us and as a company the last year plus. Bumpy's I think almost actually at 2 years now. Yep, and but I believe that this year has been much busier comparably to last year in terms of output, and us going a little bit more all in on the streaming front and content creation and such. And this is actually leading us to get into other things just by doing the social media, just by doing the streaming and such. We're now getting into like a different kind of content creation. Bumpy's made a couple of like tutorial videos and like kind of example videos of what we do for our let's plays, but like sort of our streams and showing off like that. And then we have some people as well on the team that are starting to evolve their skill set as well, and we're looking into actual like gift creation. Eventually, potentially, we're going to create our own trailer. I think at some point, and this is ambitious and pipe dream, but I think at some point, Indie Brothers could be, or whatever iteration of Indie Bros is in 5-10 years, could be a developer themselves, could be developing games, and that's something that I really see as like maybe not like a the singular long term goal of Indie Brothers, but certainly something that I would welcome as part of our company. Is that if we eventually got into a lot of people say that we're basically on the teetering brink of publisher anyway with what we do, which I think is semi-true. We don't do the financial stuff, but other publishers
short of the finances,
and we cannot make like $50,000 marketing guarantees, right? Like some publishers would be able to. We're going to put $50,000 into the marketing and that kind of stuff. That's not where we're at yet or anything like that. So that's why we really hesitate to go into that realm until there's like some serious financial backing that would back that up, kind of stuff. But that we would collaborate with developers in basically any way, shape, or form that fit our fit our mold, and eventually gets us into a place where we're doing sort of like some of the content creation, not just out around the game, but maybe inside the game, and eventually maybe developing for the game itself. We have worked on games in the past. We have done level design. This is in like 2016, 2017. Some we would work for hire for anything that they needed really and stuff. That was the kind of stuff we did back then. So it's been a little more hyper focused the last couple of years in terms of what we've worked on. But I definitely see us. It's sort of the strength and weakness of Indie Bros. What are you guys? Well,
whatever you need us to be.
Right, and so it's hard to define and it's hard to pin down. However, if you're willing to take a chance with us, I think a lot of people have done that and come out on the other side and been really satisfied with what's come out of that. So.
Okay, so I'm not sure where to go with that. One of the things that I've it's a weird thing to follow because there's nothing I can really jump right on that. But one of the things I have enjoyed and I have been doing, as you said, we've been doing the Steam streams. I've been trying to diversify, even doing those when we have multiples in a single sale, like the last one, the autumn sale. On a couple of the games, I kind of took more of a, hey, if you're going to just start off in this game, here's some stuff that you need to know to make your, stepping in and playing a much easier experience for you. And we're going to have those type of things. Usually those are the ones I'm going to probably try to record, but not necessarily. I'm going to have those posted on the YouTube channel. So if you guys want, we'll probably have 2 more, I believe, Duskers and AI War 2. We'll have 2 of those videos coming up on the channel later this week from the Steam Autumn Sale store page streams. So that'll be fun. And I'm always eager to try some new games and stuff. So always
it's one of the it's one of the challenges right now is that one of our streaming major elements is that we're going to be streaming the games that we have consistently on our label, or so to speak, and that is unfortunately like the same 4 games for the last couple of like stream runs that Bumpy's been on. So Bumpy's making the best out of a not a bad situation, but of a repetitive situation and stuff, and instead of just doing the same sort of not out of it, but just like sort of a standard status quo kind of stream, you're thinking, okay, how can this benefit us in addition to just running the hours and stuff like that? And it honestly gives you something to do better than just running it back again and again and again in the same way. Now, unfortunately, that's finite. Once you get those done and stuff, it's still the same game. So this is the fight that the management and the sales team and the development relations team is having to do for Bumpy, is to try to get him some new titles underneath the label, maybe even on the long term, or at least just in the short term, so he can mix it up a little bit. So we'll be making those efforts. We'll continue for those efforts. And Bumpy, thank you for hanging in there with the same.
I have some plans for the new year to help with that too. So just gotta get it all figured out, but I do have some plans for that to help. So hopefully it all comes through. So any social media changes, shifts in what you've been doing, trends that you've noticed that have worked or haven't worked on Tiny Disaster?
Yeah, shoot, just talk about the growth we've seen from basically nothing to where we are today at Tiny Disaster, if you don't mind.
So doing social media for the Indie Bros specifically has been a lot of fun because it's been there's so much room for variety in terms of doing trends or doing informational videos, anything like that. And we've seen such I don't want to say random because it's definitely not, but scattered results of it's been really interesting to see of what resonates with the indie game dev community. Or we also have an account that we don't specifically just talk about indie games, but it's the vast majority of more of it's Indie Bros plays, and we're talking about indie games that are coming out, what people are excited about, more from a gamer perspective instead of the dev perspective. And there's also been some interesting opportunities to kind of cross over there, talking about I did a giveaway on a client account and I got to talk about it on the Indie Bros Plays account. Things like that, of just finding different ways to interconnect, because it really is, it's a big community, but also a pretty small community in a lot of ways, especially in terms of people who are interacting on social media and the connections everybody has. So it's been a lot of fun just kind of us getting involved in that. On TikTok specifically, seeing the games that started out at the beginning of the year, and a couple of them were bestsellers just as a result of the social media they were doing. So seeing what we can learn from that, interacting with games like that. There's so much going on all the time, but it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I
Trying
mean,
to think what the original question was, but it's enthusiasm. That's
no,
what you're getting from me.
that's totally cool. You built those channels up really nicely, and yeah, you have a lot of content to work with, but you also have the challenge of trying to rein all of that in terms of, okay, we have, space strategy games and, cutesy frog games like with, and deep, roguelike games and just a variety of things that we have to try to work in. I like the inclusivity of the channels that you brought about. A lot of times we're trying to call out other good games out there that we see out there in the wild that we aren't necessarily associated with, and it's really been a lot of fun to watch those channels take off, and in a way that um we either haven't been able to or just haven't just straight up couldn't do before you jumped on. So we really appreciate all the help there, and looking forward to just having a year two with it. Right, like year one is very formative, but it's also just the start. Like it's you can only do so much in that first year, and you've seen some really good results from it. But yeah, I can only imagine what we can do in year two.
And part of the journey as well is that like TikTok and even indie games as a whole is such a developing world of like right now on TikTok when I post videos about cozy games and stuff like that, where say we work with Whitethorn Games, those games find their audience very quickly. Whereas because there are more or specifically less users like you guys who are playing a lot of the games we represent, that audience hasn't necessarily found TikTok yet. I still think it's headed that way, that like it or not, it's sticking around, but it's been developing with these platforms and with the community and what's everybody talking about right now.
Yeah, and in the next 5 to 10 years, there's just going to be new mediums established as well. It's just how the world works to this point that I've seen. So there will always be the ones that have sort of uh, deep rooted in, but then over time, some of them have been sort of unrooted a little bit. Like thinking about like Facebook, for instance. Like it's like where it was to where it is today. It's still rooted in a lot of different ways, right? But it's not something that a lot of trend setting interested people are going to be using as much as the current stuff. And 5 to 10 years we'll see what the new stuff is versus if the current iterations, like I think Facebook owns Instagram, right? So Facebook is surviving essentially through Instagram's basically more popular platform at this point. So again, more popular with younger generations. A lot of people use Facebook still. So Froxus, Merry Disgaea Day, we've decided. A pretty Santa, he points out in the chat.
Yes.
And that is correct. Merry Disgaea Day, we decided to us December 8th. We'll try to remember that for next time. We'll see. We'll know Bumpy's, but we know in next December Bumpy will likely be wearing the same situation. So
who knows? Who can say? All right, so we're all about games and such. Is there any, let's say, top 2 games that you guys did not get a chance to grab this year that interested you and that you wanted to play? And does anybody want to go first?
Oh, I thought we were going to start with like games we'd actually played. Oh, okay.
It's okay. I'm going to my wish list.
I'll go first while you guys dig around. So first off, one of the ones that I really wanted to play, I have not got a chance to play, and on my goal list is to work with Bandai Namco. Tales of Arise. I really wanted to play that. Not an indie game, but I did enjoy Tales of Berseria, and Tales of Arise looks like it's really good, and from what everybody has said, it's probably the best in the Tales series from what I've seen. So, very interested in that one. And I imagine neither of you have played either of those?
Nope.
Or, sorry, any of those, excuse me.
The Tales series?
The Tales of series. Tales of...
I've seen my friend Fraggle Greg play a couple of games, like kind of just like in the, when we were roommates and stuff, but I never actually got my hands on it. Very similar to the Star Ocean series, I believe. I never touched that one either.
That one's pretty decent too.
Mine, I have to mention it since it's on my wish list, and we have talked about it before multiple times on this show, Death Trash. I have not purchased that one yet, and it's only in early access, and so I'm not like necessarily missing anything yet if I wait till 1.0, but it still looks really good and really up my alley, my personal tastes in games.
Right.
a lot of exploration, post-apocalyptic pixel graphics. Even if it wasn't pixel graphics, but I just like that for this kind of situation.
I got a
So
new
Death
one.
Trash is
I got a new one to add to your wish list, but you can look at it after you're done here.
right now it's 96% positive with 1837 user reviews. That's so good for early access. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna be a great 1.0. Looking forward to probably seeing that come out. I believe sometime next year. I didn't look specifically to see what they said, but I imagine it's coming out in 2022. We'll see.
And do you have a second one?
Yeah, I can just say my second one. Space Warlord Oregon Trading Simulator. That just came out yesterday.
Do you know what that is? I've heard of it.
That is by Nelson Zalavir, the same guy who did Cat Airport or something along those lines, where you would go or an airport for dogs. Is that what it was? Yeah, I think that's what it was. An airport for dogs. And it's a pretty wild. He's a pretty wild developer, and he announced Space Warlord Oregon Trading Simulator, I think, half a year ago, and everybody was like, "Oh my god, that's so smart and so funny." Now it's just now it's whether or not they actually pull off good gameplay and stuff. His writing, his prose, all that kind of stuff is really really good. But it's whether or not the game's actually enjoyable. It's got 82% positive right now. It is a simulator game where you are basically dealing as a black market trader with a universe of flesh at your at your at your I'm a little there we go. I was leaning too far forward. Okay, yeah, in this game, so it is a weird one. It's very late stage capitalism type of game. Like I think is what he's going for, like kind of the funny aspects of that and stuff. Sort of the parody of that. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that one quite a bit. There's other ones on my list that I could mention as well, but those are the two that are like kind of indies that are standing out to me that I'm like I need to try those because I think that they would be just kind of something if the gameplay loop got me, I would play them a lot.
You've suddenly dedicated your lives to.
All right, you got anything for us, Tiny Disaster?
Okay, so I've got one that I was looking forward to all year, and then one that was like, oh, everyone's talking about this. I need to be playing it. So the first one that I've been waiting for and still have not purchased is Wilder Myth. Okay. It's a whole lot of everything. Like, it's not usually something I would super play, but I've heard great things. Party-based procedural storytelling, RPG with tactical combat, story decisions. So it sounds like there's a lot going on, which is maybe why I keep like, I'll just stick with something where I know what to expect. But so I am going to pick up that one hopefully over the break, and then the kind of surprise.
Yeah, that's a very interesting one. Wilder Myth. I think you will enjoy it a lot.
Yeah,
I've got to play it a little bit, so yeah.
Yeah, and then Unpacking was the one that was suddenly all over TikTok. It just came out last month.
Oh yeah,
and it's supposed to be kind of.
Who's that from?
Cute, relaxing, not too stressful.
I've heard really good things about Unpacking. Most of the team on Vertigo, including Cupogoodness David, really liked that game.
Yeah, and I think like I was thinking that with like what kind of games are popular on TikTok as well. Is like it's been the year of Ted Lasso, the year of cozy games. People are just looking for some nice, which I think definitely has affected which games kind of rise to the top here.
Yeah, they talk about how cozy has become a trend in streaming, in games because of the fact that the world outside is so not cozy lately. So it's been very challenging, and people are trying to cope and find that safe space, I guess, in these games and these streamers that often safe spaces or at least pretend to offer safe spaces and such. Like I imagine most of them who say they do, but you never know. So you just gotta be careful with the parasocial relationships, so to speak.
Yeah.
But yeah, people go for that because it's what I think a lot of people crave right now. Like a lot of people need that in their lives. Yeah. Can we do honorable mentions, Bumpy, or we gotta move on? Like,
yeah, go ahead.
So
I got some stuff I'll do too when you're done.
So Cosmos Quick Stop is kind of like a Cook Serve Delicious, but it's 3D. You're on the run and you're doing like different kinds of chores. I played this game years ago at a PAX demo. They've been working on it for years and years. It's not really gotten the recognition it deserves. It's got 43 reviews. It's 100% right now on the store page. It released in August. Definitely give it a look if you like the task list, things going a little bit awry. You have to handle things, but it feels good. that's Cosmos Quickstop, very similar to like the CSD games in terms of task management. And then my other game that I wanted to mention is Knockout City. This is a game from EA, which generally I don't play EA games, but Knockout City is like a dodgeball multiplayer game, and we play a lot of multiplayer games together on the stream. Bumpy and I do with our squad, with our Freaks, Geeks, and Sneak squad on Friday. And Knockout City is definitely one of the games that I want to get out on there eventually. It hasn't really been on discount very much yet, but it's gotten really good reviews from what I've seen, and it's like it's rare to see an EA game that everybody's just like, yeah. So it's like if people are saying EA, if people are saying an EA game is good, it probably is good, right? Because it's not like you can't fake that stuff anymore, and most people hate EA, so it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So for the other one that I would go that's not indie games that I wanted to play this year I didn't get to was Age of Empires 4. I didn't get the chance to do that. Utanot's real big into that, so I wanted to play that with him, even though, I don't know, I like 3, he loved 2, so I was hoping 4 would be a good, between the two, but I just never got a chance to get my hands on it, so.
The litmus test for me to see if a game is good or not is how much it's popping up in my Steam Friends section or Steam Friends list. Gotcha. And how many people or how often that I see it up there. And that Age of Empires 4 is on like multiple friends, playing now for hours. So it's like, oh man, maybe I should check that out because it obviously has a pretty good loop to it. If like the people that like, the Steam Friends are like, okay, these are the connoisseurs I trust. The people that are playing these games for hours, I'm like, I know that they're really got a sharp eye for fun games, you know what I mean? So it's like, oh, if they're playing it, it's probably I got a chance to like it,
The only thing that I'm a little apprehensive about is it being an RTS game. It just means that you're gonna spam build and click stuff, and I don't know. RTS has changed since I was a wee lad when you actually got to go and fight with your stuff. That's why I really like AI War 2, because you fight the battles. You don't have to do all the micromanaging and spam out a bunch of units. So while I'll enjoy it, it's never gonna be something I'm gonna try to play competitively or anything really. So, and then I was going through cleaning up my wish list the other day, and I looked at my top 16. Well, I have like 230, but my top 16 I decided to post on Twitter, and like all but one of them are coming soon, and they're all indie tactics games basically, except Heroes Hour and Songs of Conquest are the only two that are kind of not.
Do you already have Battle Brothers? Is that right?
I do. Yeah.
So that's why that wasn't on there. I have that one on my. That's the only That's actually my only tactical or strategy RPG on my list, I think, right now. And I only have, what did you say, 16 total? I think or 16 on your top 16. I think I have 16 total right now. I don't know. Let's see, 1, 2.
Yeah, even the top 20 are all indie games. In fact, Battle Brothers, I was the first person to ever cover Battle Brothers, so that was cool.
17. I'm one up on your top 16 with 17 total wishlist games, including one you recommended to me that we haven't tried out yet, Pico Park, which looks like weird as well.
Did I recommended that? I don't even know what that is.
I think so. Multiplayer, online co-op, casual, psychological horror.
Definitely doesn't sound like something I would have recommended.
The fourth thing, but like you look at it, it doesn't look like it's psychological horror.
Oh, so no, I have seen this. Yeah, no, I can see this being. Yeah, no, I did. We were looking for. That's right. We were looking for.
Just love
5 or 6 plus player games.
I love sore thumb tags like that. Like if you look at Pico Park in terms of the capsule art, and then you see multiplayer, online co-op, casual, you're like, yep. Check the boxes. It's psychological horror. Yes, it's so good. I love that because you're like it's like the 3 familiar and 1 strange thing. That's a good thing. You want one thing to kind of stick out and go, wait, what? Like,
all right,
that makes you want to like. Look
I got one for you to add to your wish list. Right alongside Death Trash. It's Mecha Jammer.
Oh, Mecha Jammer. Okay. Let me look it up.
That's incredibly difficult, though. Like, I died multiple times in the tutorial. I'm very embarrassed. Doesn't happen to me.
That's not good. Because, you're pretty good at games, and I'm not as good, so I don't...
I'm impatient, though, so that's probably one of the problems.
Ooh.
But this is definitely up your alley. You will like this one. Okay. It looks like they might be doing a rebroadcast. Not sure.
So why are the mixed reviews? Because it's hard, or is there something else going on?
I don't know. I didn't look.
It's getting hammered.
I did not look.
Interesting.
Really want to like it. Oh, there's bugs apparently and difficulty. Okay, I tried hot mess, bugs everywhere. I haven't run into any
All right.
bugs yet.
Well, I'll wishlist it. I mean, usually you get a chance to redeem yourself on that front if it's a
Yeah.
buggy situation. So we'll see how it goes. Got it on the wish list. 18, no, 19 now. I guess I miscounted.
There you go. All right, a tiny disaster. We'll let you start off with games that you played this year that you really enjoyed, or and you can do 2, 3, 10, 75, whatever you want to do. We'll let you go
I will
crazy.
start with one. We'll take turns, see when we run out. I think for me, the one I played the most, which I did not expect to at all, was, I'm not even sure I'm saying it right, Dwarf Romantic. It is like you're placing hexagons on a map, matching up sides, getting points, and just keep going until you run out of tiles. And it was just...
What's the first name?
DORF.
Dwarf Romantic.
Dwarf
Romantic. Yeah, but all one word.
Oh, I see it. Yeah.
I vaguely
So it's
remember
just,
seeing this thing come
I
in
liked
there.
the art style. I took a random chance on it and ended up just like, it's a really easy, okay, I'll just play one more game.
Yeah.
Just one more game.
Yep.
It's really, a lot of people like this game. I've never even heard of it, and it's got 11,000 positive reviews.
I said I remember vaguely seeing it. I'm like, I'm too busy. So it's good to know that it's doing really well. I like that.
This is an early access. It's in March of this year.
And it's early access, which is fantastic. Hey, look, Tiny Disaster throwing up her recommendation. It's good to do this, by the way, folks, especially if you're not a content creator like me. It's good to always go ahead and do your recommendations if you do really like a game, because it does help a lot. It gives the developer even, I assume it gives them ammo when saying, hey, Steam, we want to do this. Look, our game is overwhelmingly positive, blah, blah, blah. It's just everything, that you can do to get Steam to notice you and to accept something you want to do is a good thing.
Yeah, they'll always say there's certain thresholds that they have to go by and things of that, but you want to have points of leverage, right? And that's certainly one of the best points of leverage you can have is, hey, your users are telling us that they love the game. Can we get out to more? Can you expose us further to more of your user base based on this fact?
Yep. All right. Anything else on Tiny Disaster? Like I said, feel free to go for a while. If you got like 5 of them that you just love and you want to gush about, by all means, go for it. It doesn't necessarily even have to have released this year. Just what.
Well, that was the tricky thing. Even looking at like the ones I missed, of like the amount of games I have on my list, either that are on my wish list or that I've purchased but never played, or like 2020 for some reason, everything came out that year and I played none of it.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think what else I played a lot of this year. Oxygen Not Included was another really big one for me.
Great play. Yep.
I definitely never felt like I fully got the hang of it.
That's so tough.
Like I never made it to space, anything like that. Oh. But I really, really like anything they do. That team does really, and the style of the art and just like the silliness, but while also being strategic, thinking ahead, all of that fun stuff. Yeah, very much the kind of game.
You're like, all right, I got this plan. All right, I'm going to do all this stuff. No, hold your pee, because you want to try to get the stuff ready in time before they pee everywhere and contaminate everything.
Oh no,
it's a fun game. I do like it. It's the same people that did Don't Starve. If you,
I was going to say, isn't it the same developer that does Don't Starve? Because I tried Don't Starve and Don't Starve together for the first time this year, and that was really, really fun to me. It was a quick rabbit hole because I mostly like playing with the friends and stuff as opposed to just playing by myself. But when we tried it once on stream, I was like, there was like 2-week period where it's like I have to just dive into this fully and see, everything that can happen. And there's no way you can see everything that can happen in that amount of time. Nope. Like the way they tier content and how it kind of comes out is pretty incredible. Both in how long you play the game, but also like the seasons, other things like that. And I feel like even with my mini deep dive, I really only scratched the surface if I really wanted to get into it a little bit further. And of course, I was letting Bumpy and a lot of the veterans of the Don't Starve game basically do a lot of the stuff that I would normally have to do on my own. So there will be a time where I will return to that at some point too. But Don't Starve is pretty much like a game if you haven't played before. It feels like an evergreen game that if you started playing, you'd be like, oh, I want to. If you don't click with it, I get it. But if you do, you'd immediately just want to dive in for a long time.
And then one last one for me, because this is actually a work one that was such a surprise. I was playing it just to screen record and make content, but Montage has been so cool. It is a 3D puzzle game where you have 5 different sides of this cube, and you're turning and shifting and trying to match up different objects, and then the sides of the cube will kind of interact and unlock more things in the game. I'm not a person who regularly beats games. I played this one through quite happily. It's a short game, but it was really, really well done. And just like a beautiful game, no dialogue or anything, but there's still a really interesting story that you kind of play through and figure out as you go without having it spelled out to you. The puzzles were interesting. They also had a nice system in place for, I'm too frustrated, I would rather just move on, please help me do this. So really, really good game.
The Rose died. Sorry, I had the trailer running.
And just throw out there, Montage is one of Indie Bros clients and one of our, I believe, our first social media only client. Actually, at this point, I think we're actually doing some other things now with the publisher of that game. Moving forward, and like we're doing like QA right now. But yeah, we're trying to get obviously we play our cards, but we put all of our cards out in front and say, look at all of these things we can do and stuff. Please pick this one. Please pick this one. And they go, we want this one. They're like, what about that one? They're like, nah, this one. Okay. But it's been pretty cool. They've been a good partner so far, and definitely have kept Tiny Disaster busy over the last couple of months for sure. So I'm glad you're enjoying the game. It's always fun to work on a game that's fun to play, that you actually like, exactly, that you actually enjoy. Bumpy, your turn.
Oh, my turn. Oh, okay.
Or my turn if you don't want one. If you want to pass.
No,
I got one.
I mean, yeah. I'll go, but if you want to go first, you can.
Well, I will say one that I hope you agree with me on. Although I don't know if this is the first time you tried it this year, but
let's try to disagree. Let's go.
There's a couple of multiplayer games that I really got into this year, in particular, a very old one that I should have gotten into a long time ago, Rocket League. But that's really fun. I just love. But one that's almost maybe topped it, but only Bumpy is the only other person that I know plays it, is just Disc Jam. Disc Jam is so fun. It's a game where Bumpy and I are very competitive, and that can actually be a problem in some games that we play. It's not in Disc Jam. For whatever reason, whatever happens in Disc Jam, it's fine. If someone wins, someone clobbers the other person or whatever, it's totally okay because it's just so silly. And
you get more mad at yourself or the game than you do at the other person.
You really feel like you made the mistake when someone gets you and stuff. Like, it's like, I could have done better. It's a game that makes you feel that, that says, like, it doesn't ever make you frustrated and go, oh, I did everything right, and for some reason I didn't get it. That can't happen, but it's pretty rare. It's almost been like a therapeutic thing for Bumpy and I, like occasionally just to be like, hey, let's get on here and just throw the disc around before we go to bed, or before I go to bed, and before Bumpy just continues to cyborg his way through life.
Right. I'm not human. Completely.
But Disc Jam it does seem like it is under performed and really been like moving. Not as many people know about it that should, in terms of the online multiplayer competitive space. It's so fun, and you can do 2-on-2 as well, which we've never had a chance. I think we've done it like one time with like Mutana at one point or something, or maybe Splooch. But other than that, we've had a very rare chance to play that game with anyone other than just between Bumpy and I. But to me, that has been like a sleeper surprise. He asked me to play it. I was like, no way is this fun. It looks stupid. It's just so fun.
It is. I'm trying to remember what the original game that had that concept, because there it is, Windjammers. I think the problem is it's very similar to that in many ways, but it's not the same. So people are like, they're there, but there's also, again, it's one of those games that released to not a large enough community to be competitive. Like there wasn't enough people playing. So I think that's a big part of the problem as to why there's not more people playing it now, because they didn't have enough people to consistently play to find matchups and matchmaking and all that.
So hard, such a challenge. Worth noting that Windjammers 2 is in the coming soon section of Steam as well.
Yeah. I don't know when it's going to be released, because they don't have a release date on their page.
If you look at it, it's actually so it's top down as opposed to or it's, I guess it's from the side view versus where I think
more like isometric.
The perspective doesn't change,
45,
right? Yeah. Like when you're playing in Disc Jam, it's like it's from my perspective that I see across the court, and Bumpy sees across, from his perspective, as opposed to sharing the perspective, which is what you're doing in Windjammers.
And you're from behind the character and above versus just a top-down view like it is in Windjammers. Like I said, Windjammers got some different things going for it, but I don't know. To me, I think I'm going to. I don't know. I haven't actually played Windjammers, but I feel like I'm going to still enjoy Disc Jam more.
if you like just laughing and talking to your opponent and just laugh and just getting into like that kind of stupid vibe of just being like, oh, this is so, oh, you got me, oh, that, it's just that whole situation is happening with this jam all the time, and I really enjoy that game a lot.
Yep, it's like, I mean, it was great for a while because there was a time where I'd find one thing and Cup just couldn't answer it, and I would just be like, all right, I'm behind, boop boop boop, and I'd win. And now he's like, I got everything you can throw at me down to at least a portion of it, and now it's on you to adapt to what I do. And I'm like, oh crap! So now the shoe's on the other foot.
And that's what's fun about the game is that you're like, oh, this person has figured something out against me and it's kind of exposed me, and I know how to fix it. It's just up to me to do it. And so that's what's been cool about the game is that you're never going, oh, I just can't win and there's nothing I can do. It's like, no, I see he continues to run up and use his little shield and the disc falls right in front of the net. And I have not figured it out. Yeah.
I can't get the front lobs on you anymore.
Big slider. You gotta have that big slide, and then you have to be accurate. It's fun. It's so fun. We've talked enough about it, but it is very, very fun.
Gets our mark of approval from High Horse Entertainment.
For sure. Yeah, we can keep going on this. It's up to y'all how long we want to go. But...
Okay. Well, I'll dive into some stuff that I played this year. We'll say genre specific, something that I really didn't delve into too much, and I think a lot of people are in this boat as of maybe the last few years even, because I think it gives them a slice of normalcy or normalness or whatever you want to call it. And essentially, it's a lot of sim games. A lot of the simulator games are out there. Like there's Bus Driver Simulator. That's one. I haven't got to play that one, but I got to play Powerwash Simulator just like a couple days ago, and it's satisfying. It's super fun. I have no idea how people are going to respond to the actual Let's Play of it because I have no idea how fun that'll be to actually watch. But essentially, you just go and you
watch like satisfying video clips all the time of people squishing things and people.
Yeah.
Or like you're just cleaning the muck off of stuff and making it like fresh and new again, right? That's what Powerwash is probably all about.
Yeah, so you're there and you see the grime and then all of a sudden you're just like, and it just gets clean immediately and you're like, oh my god, that just feels so good. It shouldn't, but it does. It just feels really good to do.
It's a game for like when you feel like you have no control over anything in your real life, but you can I can go watch this thing and it's gonna feel great.
Yeah, I think it's because it's objective based gaming, right? You have a thing to do, you go, you do the thing, and you accomplish the goals that you have. Excuse me, before you as I die.
Same energy as Lawnmower Simulator, which you were playing a lot of lawn mowing simulator or mower. I can't remember. Mower, I think.
Lawnmower.
And it's mowing. Okay, yeah. And Visceral Cleanup. Detail or whatever.
I haven't played that yet. Looking forward to it.
Same energy though, right? In terms of like cleaning up a space or doing something that's productive, and completing a chore, like you said, a goal. I actually personally have some like PTSD with like power washing because like one time I caught my leg with a power washer and it took off like chunks of my skin.
Yeah,
my little tiny dots. And I was like, wow. And so you realize. And that was not like a fire hose or anything like that. Can you imagine getting hit by a fire hose? Like I can't even imagine, like just full blast. Like,
well, it's a little bit different, but yeah, that's a lot of pressure to knock you on your butt for sure.
That likely wouldn't take your skin off. It would hit you like a linebacker.
Maybe crack a rib or something. Yeah.
The power washer is a more like specific weapon because my husband has one of those scars too, just a patch of skin that is gone now.
Yeah. 1,000 cuts.
My dad removed part of his leg too. He's like, I'm like, oh god, what are you doing?
Death by 1,000 cuts. Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, that stings.
Yeah. So again, simulator games in general, I feel like a lot of people, and there's more in literally the last 2 to 3 years. There's more than ever. Like people are just coming up with all these different things that you're like, why would I want to do that? But then you go and you're like, all right, I'll give it a shot, and you're like, wow, this is just fun. It's relaxing. It's one of those games where you're not playing a disc jam where things are flying at you a million miles an hour and you're having to dodge out of this and have picture perfect, frame perfect, reaction time and everything else. You're not worried about dying. You're like, I'm just gonna go chill, listen to some lawn mowing sounds, maybe put some music on and go.
Missed a spot. I'm gonna back it up a little bit. Beep, beep, beep. Just there we go. Got it. Like I love that. Yeah, very calm and relaxing. I feel like those games are now servicing more than just the original intended audience, which is people that kind of liked doing it in real life. Semi truck driver simulator, farming simulator, etc. And like there was this meme of like it's like a farmer coming home from work. He's like, man, it's been a long day. And he sits down. It's like farming simulator.
Yeah.
Stuff like he's like, oh man, which I always loved. But it's obviously that there's an audience, and there always has been probably. That's like I want to do this in a simulation fashion. I don't want to actually really have to put in the work to do this.
You're
right?
not out in the heat and dying. You don't have to spend,
I don't have to go to the gas station to get a 2-gallon thing of gas and all that.
Even the learning curve, like I don't have to learn this entire new profession. I can just go do it.
Yeah, exactly. Like lorry driving, like truck driving and semi truck driving, all that kind of stuff. I love.
Euro Truck Simulator, American Truck Simulator, both of those games.
Yeah, because it's not simplified too much. Like it's not reductive, but it's get in and go if you need to. You know what I mean? If you feel like it, kind of stuff. Like you're not going to be like, oh, this is a huge struggle.
Yeah, so I've been enjoying simulator games a lot more lately, and it's I don't know. I don't know if it's like I noticed other people were playing it or what. I saw them like that looks like a very bizarre thing. Why would and then I tried a few and I'm like, this is actually it's just relaxing and enjoyable. So those were some of the ones. What was I got into the Final Fantasy series proper this year as well, which has been really cool. They released the pixel remasters of the first 5, there'll be 6, but the first 5 games so far. And I've completed 2 of them, and I'm on the 3rd one right now. And like I said, it's a lot of fun being able to go back and play something that I never got a chance to or never did when I was younger. And there's actually been a fair few series like that. Like in the Heroes of Might and Magic series, I played 3, and that was pretty much it back in the day. Now there's 7 games out there. The Disgaea series I didn't find out about until like 2016 or something. I was like, oh, this exists. Oh my god, this is great. Why haven't I played this? So it's really cool to find.
Even stuff I didn't have the platform for as a kid. Like Final Fantasy ones were a big one for me. But now I can get Final Fantasy X on Steam.
With PC, PC's been huge for that, and like finally some like Square and some other kind of platform specific publishers really opening up to bigger or just other markets. Like the PC market has been really important for sure. Yeah, no, really important for sure. And for me personally, like over the last couple of years, especially as I've gotten back into games, and I have to thank Bumpy for this because he's really pushed me into a lot of like situations like to just play new games. I really like crave fair, challenging games now. Like games that are extremely fair but extremely challenging.
No, he doesn't.
Like,
he won't play Dark Souls. It's the most fair and challenging game out there.
Well, that one is just I haven't gotten into yet and stuff like that. The other thing is that since I'm an old man at 36 or whatever, like I need the fair but challenging, but you have time to think, like turn based, like more. Dark Souls, of course, doesn't give me the chance to think about it. Oh, it gives me it's like here, learn. You know, and you're like, okay, I get it.
Dire way to victory.
With some of the games I've been playing lately, like they really scratch my itch in terms of, oh, like, why did I lose there? Oh, because of A, B, and C. And when I go back in this next time, I'm going to correct my mistakes. And I see the benefits of that. I really, really like those kind of games. And I love games that never give it to me too easy, right? Like, I don't want a game that's like, oh, yeah, you figured it out. So now that you figured it out, it's not going to be a challenge anymore. This is what Chris Park really desired in the original creation of AI War 1, was that it's like, okay, great, you figured out how to play this RTS or the strategy game. It doesn't mean that it's just like a cakewalk now. Like, it still should be challenging to a player, even if they have veteran status and, kind of fundamentally know all the best moves to do in the game. The game just shouldn't just go, okay, now you've mastered me, so it's not a challenge anymore. It should still try to challenge veteran players. So that's what I've been looking for a lot personally in games lately, is like, once I know how to play the game really well, do you still challenge me? It is one of the biggest failings in one of my favorite series of all time is Fallout. Is once you get good at those games, it's not really a challenge anymore. And it's really sad because the challenge and the climb is the best part of that game, and I want that to continue for a long time in those series. And they just don't do it and stuff. So I've been really enjoying finding indies and other developers that have come up with games that are like all about you finding your stride in a game, and then at that point, it's still a lot ahead of you in terms of challenging and like good efforts that you have to make. And when you win, you're like, yeah. When you lose, you're like, I hate this game, but fair. Like
You're basically describing Dark Souls. I'm just saying, like everything you just said was Dark Souls.
Except for like I've been playing a lot of games that I can leave on a turn, right? I can go do something else on a turn. Like that's I mean I can pause button it, right? Like that's
no,
kind of thing.
You can't.
But
Not in Dark Souls.
Dark Souls don't pause button. Oh, okay. There you go. Yeah, Bumpy, have you tried Hard Space Shipbreaker?
I don't even think I've heard of that. So
is that like Shipbreaker? Is there a ship? There must be a shipwright game now. Like you'd be a shipwright.
Shipwright.
I gotta imagine there's like a shipwright simulator out there somewhere. If not, that's gonna be done pretty soon.
I don't even know what you're supposed to be doing in this. Just looking off of. Are you just salvaging things, tearing them apart?
Ooh, yeah, salvager. That's always things that people love. People would love to be. I think. Why isn't there like a prospector simulator? You know what I mean? Like,
well, there is kind of. What is it called? Oh no. Hold on, I'll look it up. Give me a minute. Just
humans have this innate love of scavenging, I think, and like like finding cool stuff.
Yeah.
In weird places, right? And so I think like Prospector Sim is I mean, there's a lot of games that secretly could be called Prospector Sim, like because that's kind of what it's about. It's going out into the wilds and finding cool stuff. Like roguelikes are basically that. Like you dive into a dungeon that is not safe, and you find amazing items, and you try to escape with them alive.
Hydroneer is kind of
Hydroneer.
It's basically prospecting. So Hydroneer is a mining and base building sandbox. Dig for gold and other resources to turn a profit and enhance your mining operation. Build a base of operations, forge weapons, go fishing, and dig deep.
Yeah, and like Deep Rock Galactic is like space.
Yeah, space dwarf
doing stuff like
mining. Yeah,
but like prospector can be like a more of a vague term too, in terms of just the first people to find an area and try to allocate it for themselves, that kind of stuff. That was like happening in Fallout. You come across a lot of people who are like, "Don't kill me, I'm just a prospector." You're like, "Oh, okay."
That means no one knows you're here, fool.
Yeah, I know. It's like how much. Well, Fallout absolutely gives you that opportunity if you want to.
No consequences.
You want to raid.
This is why Cup loves it. He might be a sociopath. There's no way to be sure.
Well, the Fallout thing is good because it's like if you kill that guy out in the middle of nowhere, yeah, I'm sure that's fine. But if you like killed somebody very important and stuff like that, the city's like, no, you can't come in here, like, or we're gonna kill you on sight, that kind of stuff. So there's that. Like, you find out really quickly in like those kind of games, like any of the Bethesda games, that if you go evil, it's like, cool, well, I just closed myself off from like 90% of the game. Like, just no quest lines. Hey, all those people you killed, they had lots of stuff for you to do, but that's just you just took it to them. So yeah, it's more fun to play the neutral or positive paths for the most part, as opposed to just the. And of course, it's been done, right? It's so immature 2000. It's so like Limp Bizkit 2003 to just be like, I'm going to play this game and kill everybody. It's just like, what? Okay. Like, that's not necessarily intended. You can, but it doesn't make you... It's not going to up your enjoyment of the game. It's going to ruin it pretty quickly, I think, overall.
So you're still living in the past.
No offense to Limp Bizkit fans out there, actually. Still hanging on.
They are. They're still alive. So, any new and exciting things coming to Indie Brothers that either of you know about that you can talk about, that we can talk about?
We mentioned it a little bit earlier, but I just wanted to like go over it again that like we've had a really good relationship with the Montage publisher, and that's like evolving into multiple games at this point, like in multiple services. So we're like finalizing a QA deal with them right now, and we're really excited about that as like our next, I guess, our third step, because our first step was to get through the initial contract we did with them last month on social media, and then our second step was to get they personally asked us to work an additional month for that, which was like a huge triumph as far as I'm concerned. So that's been really cool to see that going on. And then we're trying to get like all those conversations in with developers before like, you know, the 15th, 20th of the month when it really is going to be kind of shut down time for us. And also developers, most sane folks are not really chatty in the late December period, but they are very much like Tiny Disaster. When January 1st hits, they're all of a sudden like, oh crap, I have all this stuff that I want to do and I want to accomplish. And so like the first January is going to be a very conversation heavy month, I'm pretty sure. And I know that people were saying either, I think it was February 2022 is a month to be avoided by all content releasers of any kind whatsoever because of how much is already scheduled for that month. So I'm interested to see how many games we're going to be working on for releases in February, and like how much oh crap is going to be going on with that. Like not necessarily on our end, but knowing how busy that time is going to be this next year.
That's weird to me because like all the around that time, but it's almost all in March for the games that I'm following that I'm looking forward to.
I've heard February and March basically both are real bad.
Okay,
like you know, like really bad. And
I don't know if anything's in February that I'm looking.
I think March is historically terrible.
Okay.
Year annually, you do not want to necessarily want your release in March because that's when AAA start getting going and start. You know, we've talked about this before. Whether it's fair or not, AAA's once they get going are going to hoover a lot of your exposure away from you automatically. So it's something you got to keep in mind. But we're going to be encouraging a lot of devs to release in April and May probably, and that's not going to happen for a lot of people. They're going to say, no, we have to release in February, and then we're just going to go, or March, and we're going to go, okay, let's do it.
Do our best. People still seem to not realize, and it's shocking to even me because I worked at a movie theater for a while, and it had basically a bunch of babies that I worked with. Compared to me, I was the old ancient grandfather there, even though I'm not even 40
not whiners, but young,
young folks still in high school, some just going into university or college. So a bunch of children as far as the workforce goes, and that's fine. I mean, I didn't really feel out of place, but maybe I should have. I don't know. Maybe I'm super immature. Who knows? Anyway, regardless, says the guy with 3 hats on. Regardless, it's just astounding to me that I could literally list 90% of what I'm working on, covering, doing on the YouTube channel, and none of them, even though a vast majority of them played video games like crazy, heard of any of the games that I'm covering. So it's still shocking to me how few people that are considered gamers actually have any idea about 99% of the games out there. Like, I know a lot, but there's still stuff I miss, right? So
that's something that I miss from doing the public shows and getting out there, like we just haven't been able to the last couple of years, is seeing people the vast majority of people come across our booth and say, what is this? Not, oh, cooks are delicious. Not, oh, there's a new cooks are delicious. No, it's what is this? Yep. So it's a really good reminder, of how little we actually are able to, penetrate the market. Like our efforts have to be consistent. They have to be essentially constant. Yeah. And we have to really keep digging for that exposure because of just some of the ways the way things work, the way things have been set up and such. It's not necessarily anyone's fault, but a lot of people don't give indies a chance to begin with. Others are just now kind of, I think in this, like in 2021, are finally like going, they're giving more merit to indies than they used to. I remember the last 5-10 years of Twitter would be
you guys made a mark.
Yeah, last 10 years of Twitter has been a lot of like, well, indies aren't good enough to do A, B, C, and D. You see it on like all the time, and you're like, I just don't know where this comes from because we've seen some of the best. Yeah. We've seen some of the best works come from indies, so it's just it's tighter works, but usually it's more focused and just turns out to be better products a lot of times than what the AAAs can put out there because of tighter teams.
What I meant when I said like indie games is still a new field, all things considered. Like, yes, this has been going on for more than a decade, but in terms of penetrating the larger market and all of that, the industry is still a baby, and every game like Hades brings a few more people into that fold of considering the next release and the next release, and it doesn't have to just be Call of Duty again and again.
Right.
So we're getting there, and it's got to keep changing.
It's almost like they need it legitimized. Like, I played a game that wasn't by one of my favorite XYZ publishers, and it was an enjoyable experience. And now I see that they're outside my original bubble. that there is so much more
Like,
to
what else can
experience.
I play? What else can I see?
I'm telling you, I've been there. I could you look back at my former self versus like 10 years
Oh,
ago
I know.
versus
Me too.
now, the amount of games I played now versus what I played back then, I'm just so thankful because it's like I would have never found any of these experiences. I would have thought that games were still fun, but way more limited in scope. You know what I mean? Like way more limited in terms of what could be accomplished and the enjoyments and the paths that I could go down and find out, hey, I actually really like this kind of game. So it's been awesome to get there. I hope a lot more people do, as we grow older together. I hope a lot of people that are in our generation keep trying new games and such. I hope older generations, like our parents, still are open to that as well. I've seen some cracks of light in that regard, including Bumpy's father, and then I hope the new generations are into checking out like smaller works as well. I think I'm pretty encouraged overall by seeing like the younger generations because they're not really in it for the lead me this way or that. They're just looking for the good stuff, and they don't really care
Yeah.
where it comes from. It's just
I
give me the
think
good stuff. So
a big piece of that, especially in like my friend groups, have been Nintendo opening the door to third party developers more of like seeing things in the Switch store
Yeah.
that have similar like art styles to Nintendo games. People aren't going like, oh, well, who actually made this?
Yeah.
Casual video game enjoyers are just kind of clicking through stuff they would not have normally considered because they assume if it's in that store, it's going to be good, which isn't always the case, but you have to dig pretty deep to get stuff that Nintendo hasn't put a thumbs up on.
Yeah. So for me, again, it's one of those things where the vast majority of the quote unquote gamers out there only know that AAA games exist. Or AAA games exist. I don't think it's a lot of it's due to like, oh, well, I only want to play the best of the best, the highest budget. I don't think it's that. I just think there's still just a lack of awareness. One of the greatest things that have come from me, even watching Let's Play videos and then actually, doing that on YouTube. First off, I was like, people do this? This is stupid. I really was. I'm like, why would anybody do this? And then I ended up doing it. So it's great, right? But you start off and you're like, oh, I want to play Dota 2. I want to play Call of Duty. I want to play, League of Legends. These big things. Unless you're like literally a god or the top like 0.1%, you're not going anywhere with it. If you're doing that, starting off as a content creator. So you start looking for other avenues, smaller games. Then you start reaching out saying, okay, well, I've built a small following. Will you work with me? Will you send me like a code for me to cover your game? And then that starts happening. And then you're like, oh, cool. And you reach out more and more. And that kind of exposed me to, even when I first started watching people doing what I do, a lot of games I had never heard of. I'm like, oh, this looks awesome. I'd never even heard of this. And then I started looking around and then I started doing it. So then, the coverage of what I do, a lot of it's indie, a lot of it's not. I mean, I try to cover everything. So when people say they like how I present stuff, they're like, oh, cool. He played this AAA game. Oh, what's this game? I never heard of it. Oh, that's really cool. So, it's kind of there's certain people who only play indie games and there's certain people who only play AAA games. I feel like playing all of the games and, exposing your audience to that is probably the best way to expand the, people's knowledge of gaming in general.
yeah, well, it's just silly. Just go where the good stuff is. You know what I mean? Whether it's
Yeah.
wherever it's coming from. You know what I mean?
But people
Like, I
just
mean, as
don't
long as
know. Like it's
yeah.
like being a small content creator up against Markiplier and PewDiePie and all these people. Nobody's gonna watch your stuff because you don't make enough noise. You're not even listed in the searches.
You have to
So
find a way to like have your merit stand out against theirs, and or a lot of times it's the opposite. It's the opposite effect, right? It's like, oh well, you go there for that, then the opposite is what's true for if you come to me and stuff. And obviously, you don't want to do that to be a positive and negative,
no,
but
I
you
know.
want it to be like something that's like, okay, they're loud, they're boisterous. That's not what I'm going to be.
No,
You know what I mean?
I
Like
know, and
I'm
I
going to
know, but
establish
I
myself in
mean,
a different way. Yeah.
the correlation is, indie games are that small content creator versus these big mega stars that
Right,
everybody sees.
like the indies, the content creators have to find have to find their own niche, right? Their own way to maybe not compete exactly one to one, but to find their own audience and find their place, like kind of in that
Yeah,
in where they feel like I've got where I need to get. Not a lot of us we don't need to be overly ambitious, right? Like it's like if Cooks Are Delicious went to Hades or Minecraft levels, that would be a major headache for a lot of the people involved with the company and stuff. Like, it's not like we're like looking to go. It's we're rich beyond great, but at the same time, like you think about how to manage all of that, like I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's worth the trade, right? Like, it's like, hey, I'd rather have a situation where the audience is solid, our community's great, we know we're going to get our paychecks pretty consistently. In fact, completely consistently at this point, and it's not bad money. So like we're going to keep that going. Obviously, if we get paid more, that's great. But we're not looking for that. I don't think you should, unless you know what you're getting into, you should never thrive to be that indie developer that hits that 0.001% home run and then suddenly has to deal with the more money, more problems, more exposure, more problems kind of situation that you're going to have. And we've seen how challenging that could be when like something goes big, even before maybe it's time, like No Man's Sky style, and the audiences that come into play, all the community members that come into play, it could be very challenging. And then of course, all of the constant business stuff that you're going to have to deal with. Oh my God, I couldn't even imagine. I don't necessarily endorse or like the guy, but you got to imagine someone like Notch when he created the Minecraft originally to where the business offer started coming in. It had to been like, that's not for me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, no thanks. I wouldn't like to have 3,000 business emails and calls and all that stuff coming in a day about like, my product. So there's a balance to it, right? Like, it's like, you probably have 5 people working on the game because you don't expect it to go into the stratosphere. Like, it makes sense that AAAs have like, hundreds, if not thousands of people working on individual products because they're trying to get it to that level. And of course they invest that money as well. So anyway, that's tangential. I wanted to point out that Froxus said at one point I was like talking in a way that almost sounded like I was going to go into song, which I'm I'm like a theater kid, so I did a lot of musicals and such, and I call it out all the time. You can see a good musical versus a bad musical because there's this notion that not a lot of people think about, which is you have to have a reason to sing. You can't just burst out into song for like no like obvious reason.
That's my biggest problem with musicals. It's like, why are they singing? This makes no sense.
Like, if you watch Aladdin, to me, they do a pretty good job of like, okay, I can see how they led into song. Like, they gotta keep up.
I watched The Greatest Showman, and it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. Just because they're randomly singing for no reason. I'm like, why?
They just don't have. My director, I think it was my high school director, always said there has to be purpose to lead to why you would start singing and stuff. You have to, even though it's not like an unbelievable situation in general that people would just bust out into choreographed, song and dance.
Yeah.
You still need to have some level of, kind of believability as you transfer over from standard conversation into someone like just starting to like just go. And I'm glad that I just naturally found that for you, Froxus, that you thought that I was just going to lead into a Hunchback of Notre Dame song. So Bumpy's Flynn from Tangled.
I
nice.
wish Tangled's like one of the best. Maybe
Flynn's
it is my favorite.
Flynn's the dude.
Yeah, I think that might be my favorite Disney movie. So it's good. I like it. Okay,
all right.
So we don't have much left to really cover. Is there anything in particular you guys wanted to discuss, or do you want me to find something else for us to kind of?
Well, we can probably. Well, my food's here, so it's up to you, to y'all. Like we can wrap, or
I see how it is. Anything from you, A Tiny Disaster?
I didn't have.
No, this has been fun.
Yeah.
All right.
Bumpy's like, I had 18 more minutes of content, and it's mandatory.
Yeah. So now you're gonna have cold food, Cup. Thank you very much. And
I'm getting out of my seat to go get it.
It's like that. Just can't wait.
All right, I'll stay in my seat, but I'm gonna go get it.
He's gonna roll. Don't pull your headset off.
I'm like, just caught halfway. Yeah.
It's like, nope, not gonna happen. No. I say the year started off, we were doing, and it's gonna make a comeback, assuming they don't cut me from it. At this somewhere when we come back to doing this as a whole, which is January 5th, I am going to be returning with like hour-long. Here's a focused stream on one of the games that we've covered in the history of Indie Bros, and that's going to probably be like 2 hours, 3 hours before our stream on Wednesday. So it'll be Wednesday. You'll have a couple of streams from us, and I'm just gonna focus that separately, almost like mini Steam streams, kind of. And I think that's going to be something that'll be nice. So you guys will have a little bit of a variety of content that'll be saved on YouTube, and it gives a little bit of a showcase and sharing the products that we've already worked on. So that's something that I'm looking forward to actually getting going at the beginning of next year. That was something that we talked about.
Our first spin-off show. Woo-hoo!
Well, it was the original idea behind all this, right?
It was the first two. The ideas that we had was this one, and of course the streaming of various games was 1A. Yeah, for sure.
So we'll do it a little bit shorter. I think it will help. And if we have any like relevant news or anything, I think we'll probably keep most of the talking to this. That'll just be game showcase basically. So each and we have a lot of stuff. Whether we work with maybe publishers or developers as a whole with all of their library, like Arcen, Indie Brothers might not have specifically worked on some of the games, but we can always go to pretty much any of their games because we have promoted them on sales or whatever, even if it was after the point. So
all of Arcen games are technically Indie Brothers games because of the fact that we have worked on them both in post-launch and some of them pre-launch, obviously.
Yeah, and
most of them post-launch.
And a lot of the folks at Indie Bros were former Arcen employees. So
yeah, a couple of us at least. Yeah.
So good times all around with that. And I suppose there's no other anything. I guess we can end. I'm trying to think if there was anything in particular this year that was like a standout episode. I wanna reiterate that we're gonna be doing the mini store reviews again. We'll be doing more of the trailer reviews. If you guys enjoyed that and it was helpful, by all means, we will be doing those maybe quarterly.
Yeah, those were really enjoyable to me. Broke up some of the more heavier topics that we were talking about, or more in-depth stuff that we would get into. So I really enjoyed those, just as like a personal thing to mix things up for us. And I think we talked a lot about just how to get by and how to cope as an indie developer or as someone in the video game space, video game industry, as someone who wants to try to work in there in the current state of things, in the current market, in the current world we're living in. So I thought I do feel like we've done a nice service on that. My hope when we started this was to contribute more and to give back, and be more open and share more. And I think that we've accomplished that. And I just want to keep going on that initial notion of I think that this industry, especially indies, will rise up together. And we continue, especially if we continue to communicate in this way, share our stories, and obviously understand there are things like survivalist bias and stuff like that. But just to get to glean from other people's successes and talk about our own successes and our failures too, and other people talk about that as well. It's been a really important thing for my growth personally in the industry over the last several years. So it's been nice to try to not even try, but to succeed in actually giving back a little bit. So that's been cool.
And finally, one thing that I've been thinking about and wanting to do, and I'm sure we've kind of flirted with the idea, but we do not have actually locked it down other than with you, Cup, is I wouldn't mind getting, I think we can do it once a month, but maybe same type of thing, like once a quarter or something. Maybe we can lock down a developer to actually join us and kind of showcase them talking about their game and what they've gone through, their struggles. We can ask questions and, interview essentially a developer.
Yep, I think we could do that. That's the prep. That will be the episodes we'll prep for the most, because when we bring someone on the show that's not the three of us, we definitely don't want to waste their time. And I know you guys feel the same way about that and such. So I want to make sure that when we bring someone on, that we have the questions in order, all that kind of stuff. And also just get the right people on and stuff. Some developers, they're a wide gamut of personalities and such. So we definitely want to get the ones that we feel would be nice to join us and have kind of interesting, compelling stuff, stories and projects to talk to us about. I'm definitely interested in that.
And one final thought with that, if you two wouldn't mind, since the show itself is scheduled, somewhat rigidly, we'll say, as far as we're here at this time starting and so on and so forth. If we can't necessarily lock down developers to come in and do it at those times, would you be opposed to maybe recording and then streaming it live, even though it's not live?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like to do more of like a format where we talked about, I think we talked about that before, where we would do some things live and then pull in certain content pieces that were already created and such. Obviously, if the developer couldn't make our time but wanted to do something like that, then I'd be open to that. I'm sure Tiny Disaster feels probably the same. Yeah.
Okay. Well, those are pretty much my thoughts, and I guess
I speak for Tiny Disaster. My bad, TD.
She seemed to agree.
She was like, fine.
She's like, whatever.
Fine, good.
As long as you pay me, it's fine. No.
Yeah.
All right, guys and gals. I think that's pretty much going to do it for our year in review. We talked about stuff that we enjoyed, talked about things that we accomplished personally, professionally. It's kind of overview of this, not really the services we provide, but what we've done on the show thus far and where we hope the future leads. And we got to share some of our favorite games that we played this year, ones that we missed out on, and ones that we're looking forward to. So any final thoughts before we say goodbye till next year?
Yeah, Bumpy, Tiny Disaster, thank you for a great year. I think this is going to be a really fun next year coming up. I hope you all have a good holiday break or half break in Bumpy's case, half not. And I hope everybody else has a good holiday and a good new year. And we'll see you all when we reconvene in early January for our inaugural 2022. Our inaugural 2022 show. So it'll be good. I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to a few weeks off and then picking it up fresh. And hopefully, I imagine between now and then we'll come up with our quarter one topics as well. So it'll be good to get into that kind of stuff after a little bit of a break here.
Anything else, Tiny Disaster? You want to throw on there?
Many dogs and children running around, so there's lots of background noise.
No worries.
Everything Cup just said is okay with me.
All right, sounds good. All right, folks, thanks for stopping on in. Thanks, Roxas, for chatting. And I don't know if voa.fyi is a website or if that meant something at the time. Sorry, Emily Ford, if you're not a bot, we appreciate you coming through. You never know these days, right? Yeah, and thank you guys for watching. Take care. We'll see you in the new year, January 5th, same time, and we'll post on social medias whenever we have our topic down and our video locked in and all that stuff. So take care. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all the stuffs. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.